So you made it. You sat through session after session. You've powered through a hailstorm last night. Now you're here. So today, we're just going to go through a few items on what we did as Verizon, and this is probably applicable for some of the other enterprises as well, on how did we actually fast track some of our autonomous enterprises as well, basically, right? Yesterday in the keynote, you would have observed the Verizon story where we talked about this is a journey that we took a lot of years in the making, and we progressed step by step through those years as well, right? We started with bespoke solutions. We've industrialized some of these solutions as well, and then now we're actually ingraining them in our DNA in developing some of these use cases at pace as well, right? Well, what does that mean? So we want to spend some time double-click and also explain things that we've learned and things that we probably could share with the team members here as well, basically, right? So bespoke solutions. We, like most of you, already went through the journey in the past. We've started with incorporating BU-specific solutions in the past where it's a chatbot implementation, or it's a simple personalization implementation, or it's like a simple email trigger notification platform or whatever, basically, right? So we started building specific models, specific solutions within that specific role. Very quickly, we realized that if we really want to scale this over the entire enterprise, we wanted to make sure that we actually have dependency over data. So one of the biggest things that we've done over the years is to try to actually consolidate some of our data marts together and also start making it discoverable for a lot of folks who are working on these AI solutions. So we spent a lot of time utilizing some of the taxonomy that we have at our disposal from TM Forum. We use the SID taxonomy model. We've collated the data into different levels, level 0, level 1 indication as well. Then we've created the metadata on top of it to make it discoverable for folks who are actually looking at solutions or creating solutions on theirs. Later on, we transitioned from there to make some of these solutions ingrained in the entire journey through and through, right? So the way we actually did that is to try and incorporate not just the systems, but we actually had to rejig some of the processes that we had in the past, both from the platform team and the actual enablers as well, basically, right? So in the next few slides, we're going to go through two key aspects. One from the partner sitting in the room to understand what some of the experiences that we've enabled as well. And number two, which platforms or common enablers actually helped accelerate that as well as technologists for you also, right? The moment you have those two, you will see if it's applicable in your industry or domain, and how do you actually take it and accelerate your use cases as well in your day-to-day lives. That's the idea. With that said, so the top part, as Verizon, as a large enterprise, we have customers interacting with us in different journeys as well. And majority of those interactions fall into the experiences that we enable. So most of our business cases are driven by value. And the value realization comes from those experiences that we enable, whether it is to our customers, employees, or the network interactions that those customers have as well. Whereas some of the key enablers that actually accelerated this journey are our workbench, which we internally call as Vegas, standing for Verizon Generative AI solutions and services. And then we also have knowledge services that enables some of our data demystification. And we have a core framework around responsible AI as well that I'll touch on real quickly. If you imagine some of the touch points that our customers go through in their day-to-day journeys, they have specific expectations when they interact with us. And unless we meet or exceed some of those expectations, we're actually doing disservice to our customers. So whether it is a retail setting where a customer would walk into a retail store, or whether it is a call center where you would actually call into our call center, have an interaction with either an AI platform or an actual agent as well, we've created different solutions for specificity, whether it is contact or while we're engaging, or what happens after the contact, so that the next contact can actually be much more rich or more meaningful as well, basically, right? That's the idea. So with that, in the retail setting, we've deployed something called Copilot, where we actually are assisting the agents to have some meaningful conversations with the customers as well. And as part of that Copilot ecosystem, gone are those days where we're actually asking the customer of what they went through. Now we're preempting and prompting these information ahead of time, so that when the customer walks in, we not only know who you are to a certain extent of realm of possibility, but we actually know your buying patterns, we know what you did, and if there's any contextual information about what you did online, or a phone on its way to your home, shipping status, etc., right? Then we layered personalization on top of it, right? So we have offers that we actually created based on segments, but now we're customizing those offers to the customers as well, depending on what they choose to purchase and what they actually want as well, while keeping in mind the cost of acquisition and the cost of retention aspects in mind as well, right? So the financial aspect of it, what offer can we give, the value of the offer, and when do we actually give that? So we started customizing and personalizing those as well in the journeys. Then once that interaction is done, we take that insights, feed that into AI Coach, and make sure that we actually learn from that insights and did the sales pitch work or not? Especially this is becoming more and more important in our B2B use cases as well. How is the effectiveness of you as an agent versus what insights did we get? What is the sentiment? Capture it and make that information available to the customers and the next set of agents to make the next interaction more rich as well. Similarly, in the call center, we've deployed similar type of capabilities. Once you call in, we try to deploy some self-serve capabilities using our AI platforms in the contact centers. Try to deflect, make the intent meaningful or the interaction meaningful. And then if we cannot deflect that call at that point, we would actually pair that into an agent depending on variety of factors. So we got solutions where we know if you had an interaction with a particular agent in the last week or in the past, and how do we route that call to that particular agent, basically, right? Or we also have ability to make sure that we not only route it to a particular center, but route it to a particular agent who is exceptional at selling, and based on their availability and prioritization and needs as well, basically, right? On top of that, once the call is done, we're not leaving it there. So we've got solutions deployed where we're summarizing that call and managing the promises as well. So the promise management is turning out to be one of the biggest things that we do as a customer to develop that experience a little bit further, depending on the interaction, whatever the customer had with that particular agent and whatever the agent promised to that particular customer, we need to start following up on those and delivering on those promises as well, basically. So we've got some solutions deployed in the customer segment. Now, if we transition into the employee side of the house, we've got our frontline agents supporting our businesses. We've got frontline agents supporting our customers. And we also have solutions helping our employees as well, right? And when I say an employee, not just the frontline agents, sales service ecosystem, but us as employees as well also need a specific set of capabilities that we deployed also. So we've talked about the Copilot from a customer aspect. Here, the same Copilot would show and give the experiences to the employees as well who are using that to serve those customers. And we've got plethora of other technologies like personalization, single search, and then in the B2B context, what we learned very quickly is our agents spend close to 6-7 hours working on their platinum accounts, pulling information from different sources to create a pitch before even they attempt to reach out to the customer to make a pitch on sales and services, right? So one of the biggest things that we've immediately realized is GenAI was able to bridge the gap between rudimentary work that they're doing based on the information that they are already utilizing. We could easily connect those two dots together to say, do not worry about spending time about creating these pitches. We could auto-create these pitches for you automatically, right? So we created a solution for purpose-to pitch where all they have to do is, here's the customer, here's the lead that I'm going to a meeting with, and automatically the sales pitch is well-defined, curated, and created for them. They use that information as a prep. And some of these agents are like exceptional, right? They're really good at what they do. This is just a tool that aids that capability. So they take that information, customize it for their talk track, and then go make a pitch to the customers. So now what used to take 3 to 6 hours is now in 3 to 6 minutes pretty much. Similarly, they have a personal research assistant. They can ask questions. It'll come back with responses. And we have contextual emails that we're sending out to the customers where they're auto-generating, depending on what part of the journey these customers are. And then it's already integrated within the marketing platform itself where we trigger that emails out, basically. Otherwise, they would be sitting and writing these emails out. And initially, there is still that human intervention part of it until they get used to it, which is we draft the email out, we create all the content in there so that they can review it, and then they can send it out ahead of time. When it comes to employees as a whole, as me and some other employees within the organization, we wanted a general purpose ChatGPT kind of exercise. Because of our responsible AI framework, we've not deployed ChatGPT internally through our enterprise itself. So we created something called a VZGPT, general purpose bot, nothing specific. It's all world knowledge, etc. And it'll give you questions just like ChatGPT. But we also have a digital assistant where it becomes very specific about your payroll, your questions that you actually have, or your benefits information that you might be asking. This is information that we did not want to put it into an external entities as well. So we've deployed a few solutions there. In addition to what's near and dear to some of the technologists in the room is SDLC automation as well, right? So Gen AI and SDLC, which part of the SDLC can we accelerate? So we've deployed some solutions there. Now we're looking at it as a whole, SDLC as a whole, to try and ensure that every single phase of the SDLC, software development lifecycle, is actually cared for and have solutions there. In the network, we look at network as 3 main segments: plan, build, and run the network. And as part of these motions that we have, we also have AI internally incorporated, domain specific as well already. And when I say a domain, we're talking about system performance is a domain, service assurance is another domain, provisioning, planning, right? So historically, we've had those solutions, but when we're transitioning out into having a network which is multi-purpose, both wireless and wireline aspects, we had to start deploying solutions across these domains. That's where the difficulty came into play. So one of the things that we've started doing there is taking the data, making it contextualized, and sifting through the data to make 2 main categorizations. One was what's actually usable, the other is what's not relevant for us. So we created time series motions so that at least we can help the agents go through the data and find that needle in that entire haystack specifically, basically, right? That allowed us to start deploying some use cases already, both the agent-facing use cases and then customer-facing as well. And the reason I'm saying customer-facing with network experience is there are 3 components to our network experience strategy. We have our entire network, and we also have the folks who are running that network, and we have the customers who are experiencing that network, basically, right? So for us to go into the autonomous network mode, we had to care for the entire ecosystem, and that requires both AI and generative AI capabilities to come in as well. So we've deployed some planning AI ecosystem. We've deployed using GIS maps where somebody would call ahead of time before they dig. We would actually deploy a truck roll when it's not needed as well. So we actually are seeing 30% productivity where we're killing some of these non-productive truck rolls before even it goes out, basically. So we started incorporating AI in each of these use cases. The reason why I gave the CX view, EX view, and then NX view is as I transition into the next enablers, keep those things in mind, because for each one of them, you would have noticed different use cases, different data needs, different design patterns emerging. And for all of those, we had to use common enablers to accelerate those journeys, right? If we start architecting based on the design pattern, and each of those design patterns have their own way of coercing these pieces, it's never going to be able to scale. Unfortunately, scale is dependent on having some reusable and composable architecture building blocks. That's what we are focusing heavily on. And one such thing is the Vegas workbench. So this is a workbench that we created for enthusiasts, practitioners, and full-on core developers as well. And this is actually going to be something that I'll be double-clicking in the next slide as well. In addition to that, we have something called knowledge services. One of the first lessons that we learned was all knowledge is not equal, and very quickly, some of the data that we have is not good enough for the LLMs to use. So the biggest piece that we had to go through is to ensure the data is LLM ready, right? Data is model ready. And for that, it required a lot of curation, a lot of hand-holding until we realized that this is not going to be able to scale, especially when multimodal data is going to come through in the few years. We have to be ready with platforms where it can consume knowledge and keep it LLM ready as well. So there are few capabilities that we're working on already. In terms of maturity, this is probably in its infancy, if you will. But that's a big function that we're going to be enabling as a common enabler as well. Verizon has a responsible AI framework. This has been our guiding principles for a few years. It is composed of 5 key components. Internally, colloquially, we call it as GRATE. It's GRRTT, governance, respect to your privacy, respect to our social responsibility as well that we have, and also, most importantly, transparency to our customers and to our partners as well, basically, right? So we keep these key elements that we have in mind to ensure that we actually have a framework. And within that framework, our responsible AI team started building capabilities that are going to be incorporated not only in the Vegas workbench, but if somebody wants to utilize it, they can tap into those services as well, basically. So this allows you to go through as simple as answerability to a particular question, or something more involved about toxicity, identifying biases, addressing those biases as well, basically. With that Vegas platform that I was going to double click, right? So this is one of the biggest things that we're working on. It's already delivering a lot of value for most people who are utilizing it, but we have a pathway of how we're thinking about it and imagining as well in the future. So the platform composes of few building blocks, right? We have the workbench, and different personas that I was talking about earlier will interact. We have connectors to the model gardens. We've got incorporation of agentic workflow that we're bringing in, and there are core services that are being offered as part of it. And one such offer that I was talking about earlier was the knowledge. It could be prompt engineering, and there are some additional functions that we're going through that we're developing in the core services as well. This is surrounded by our LLM gateway, which is hosting all the variety of LLMs, whether it is closed or not, and then supported by an LLM ops functionality as well. So we've chosen a partner of choice for the LLM ops to make sure that we manage all interactions. If we see drift, how do we handle drift? And also, how do you put that into a feedback loop mechanism as well about performance, etc. This is governed by, like I said, our governance structure and responsible AI framework. But this became our linchpin when we created the Center of Excellence, because we didn't want different type of methodologies being implemented for different use cases as well, and different design patterns also. So in the Center of Excellence, this allowed us to do 2 things very fast. One is rapid prototyping, which is extremely key when you're actually experimenting with a lot of these technologies. I mean, every single day, I'm sure you know, there's a few companies that are sprouting saying we're doing AI and we're Gen AI type of company for a specific function. So every function is now becoming a startup in West Coast. Unfortunately, there's no cohesive solutions that are coming up, but part of that, rapid prototyping became our day in, day out job as well. So we are heavily double clicking. And the second most thing that I've noticed is collaboration. I've not seen in the past where a variety of BUs came together and actually gaining insights from each other like this before. That's what the Center of Excellence kind of put together with this framework, basically, right? So this helped us accelerate some of this value as well very quickly. And with that, those pieces that I talked about, I have to do both of them. One is enabling the experiences in each one of them, and also using this composable architecture and building blocks with the connected data that we're talking about. That's how we're going to head towards that autonomous enterprise as a whole, basically. Okay. With that, I'll hand it back to you.